Hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Beauty. Today for episode 5, I have Brian Nickerson from Magic Links, and I wanted to interview him because first of all, Magic Links has been a huge part of my YouTube channel since pretty much the beginning of my channel. And I'm going to have Brian kind of explain to you guys a little bit what Magic Links is. He's one of the co-founders, and also because I wanted to talk to someone who is passionate about what he does, but not just in beauty, because you know it seems so easy to be passionate about beauty and fashion, but I think it's so unique where Brian's coming from and how he has built this company and won a bunch of awards in my opinion and really made a name for himself in this industry, as well as just starting a business and being an entrepreneur. So would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I'm Brian Nickerson, co-founder of Magic Links. I'm trying to think, it's exciting to be here with you because I think my entrepreneurial journey, right, is I kind of started at large companies. Mm-hmm. So I worked at Avery Dennison, which does like stickers and office products and the labels that you wear that
you can buy those at Staples and
exactly,
stuff.
Yeah. And I worked at like a sticker factory and a stop sign factory. And then I worked at Yahoo, huge brand.
Oh, wow.
In their search group. And then I worked for a company called Internet Brands where I was buying e-commerce businesses and then built a team to kind of run those. It was mostly around finding products and deals. So I had come from like a corporate, I had sort of corporate jobs at large companies, and each company that I worked at was progressively smaller. Mm-hmm. But I always knew, at some point in time that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to start my own company. And for me, it was like I never knew. I didn't know what that idea was. So it took a while. It took a number of jobs where I learned a lot from what I liked and what I didn't like, and learned more just sort of about how business works. And then I needed to kind of have a idea about which I had a lot of conviction. And so that started with actually a coupon business, which is where I think we met with Chipmunk.
Yes.
And so originally Chipmunk was built as a coupon search engine.
Really?
Coupons online, yeah.
I didn't even know this. Because I always thought Chipmunk was an affiliate linking site, because that's what I was using it for.
Yeah, well, so Chipmunk was basically built for people to find coupons, because it's really hard to find coupons online. Yeah. And so that was like the original thesis: is let's make it easy to find coupons, have coupons that work, and like do something a lot different in that space. And we ran into big challenges. So we had kind of the first year as an entrepreneur was great. Like we had, not quite rocket ship, but like every month was better and better and better. And it looked like we were really onto something. Mm-hmm. And one of our core thesis was, we know there's a lot going on in video and a lot of attention being paid in video. And this is back like 2013, right? So it's amazing how far things have come even since then. But we knew there was a lot going on in video, and so we wanted to engage in YouTube, but we didn't fully know exactly how we were going to do that. Mm-hmm. So originally it was, maybe we can bring coupons into YouTube, and a way to sort of for fans to, as fans are watching a video in any genre, it could be beauty, it could be anything. Here's a coupon to save money on if you're watching something and you're inspired to shop, maybe you'd want a coupon.
Okay.
And so I think we may have met when Magic Links was called Chipmunk Rewards, potentially.
Yeah, because I remember if I linked something and there was a coupon, it would pop up before taking you to the product.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now it's making sense to me.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of how it all came together. And we what we learned, right, is number one, the bringing coupons into video was just it wasn't really that compelling. Yeah. For a lot of YouTube creators, it was okay, but coupons have a short duration and they usually live for only about 5 days, so it's not necessarily great for fans. Mm-hmm. And what was really kind of needed, at least what we learned from working with a lot of people, and getting great feedback from you in particular and many people, right, is we want to, at least what we heard is, as a creator, we want to curate a list of products that are relevant to our video and be able to send fans directly to that product, and help them shop if they want to. So it was actually like, I don't know, that's a long-winded way of getting back to it, but like, I think we started working together even before the name Magic Links had like kind of come into existence.
Yeah, no, I don't know you guys as now I know you guys as Magic Links, but the funny thing is on my browser bar bookmarks, I still save you guys as Chipmunk. And
wow.
And same with my...
I'll update that for you. Yes.
Yeah, like, because I file everything away. So my email still says Chipmunk as well, like in that folder, but it's clearly Magic Links. And I think I remember the couponing things, but I actually had turned off the coupon options.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I think you had called me or asked for a call, and you're like, so do you use this? I'm like, no.
No, I mean, it's so interesting because we started where that was almost a core component of Magic Links at the beginning, and then we were looking at how creators were using it, and it was like 98% were product links directly to products, and only like 2% to coupons.
Yeah.
And so then we're like, okay, how do we understand that, right? Like clearly there's signal from the market that this service that we're providing, people are gravitating towards one thing and not towards another. So let's make sure we like encourage where it seems like we're kind of like creating the most value or where people are finding the most value, and focus there. And I was kind of thinking about, like a lot of like starting a channel on YouTube, right? I think like you're an entrepreneur, right? And anyone who's doing a channel on YouTube, or really anyone who's out there like creating content, you're starting your own brand, your own business. And I would imagine there's a lot that's gone into that, like similar in that journey, right? You try something, your fans tell you something, you're like, okay, don't do that again, right?
Or they clearly don't want to see this type of video.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I think even though, this is behind the beauty and stuff like that, I think it's so important to also let the listeners know, because you come from a corporate background, obviously, and you just are able to make something happen that you enjoy and you find passionate about. Because a lot of listeners, they might like beauty, they might like fashion, but they might feel stuck that they can't find something that they have to offer for a career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. So, I mean, I've got a couple of thoughts on that. I think especially, so a lot of the social platforms, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, WeChat, right? There's any number of platforms. Those are basically the democratization of you getting your idea out into the world. So I think it's never been easier in like the history of the world to put your ideas out into the world, and that's an amazing and really like beautiful thing. Yeah. And being able to do that, I think has to come from, like, if a listener is saying, well, how do I get into that, or like what do I have to offer? Everyone has something to offer, and I think that starts kind of with an internal question. And I remember, to kind of dress yourself happy, right? Yeah. Like the start of your channel came from this really authentic place that you had, that was like the way that you dress can actually like change your life in many ways, right? And I think everyone has that in some degree. So I think like if I were to, think about like why to start something, or like, if there's any sort of like guidance in that area that I could offer to your listeners, it's like, you have something to offer, figure out what that is and spend time internally first. And then once you feel something that resonates, then start putting it out into the world. And you'll start to see, right? You'll learn really fast, and you have to be like brave through that process. There'll be people, people will hate on it, right? Yeah. Or like we did in our case, it's like we had this coupon thing and it wasn't really working, right? So we had to like sort of move and like listen and have a path that we knew we wanted to walk, but also move with where we were finding resonance and where we weren't.
No, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from meeting you, working with you, and I only met you for the first time like last week.
That's crazy.
Right? I've been working with you for years, but...
Which is also like the power of the internet, right? I mean, we've emailed, we've phone called, like we've interacted many times, but have met for the first time like a week ago. Yeah.
And Skylar's sitting in the room too, who works for Magic Links, and I've been calling him Schuler in my mind for like years. And it's because it's just because like I haven't actually talked to him on the phone, but it's just amazing what the internet has opened up for us in terms of business, but just relationship building.
Yes.
And I, for whatever reason, like I've become very picky with who I want to communicate with, just because I get inundated with new brands, new companies starting up every day. But I think what makes you stand out is how much you care and how much you really genuinely want to hear what I have to say about your product, because that's not the truth. Like people will always ask me, like really ask me and keep pushing me, and I'm a little hesitant to just be brutally honest all the time.
Yeah.
And when you push or ask and I'm like, well, look, this is really what it is. It's not working for me. That's why I tried something else for a little bit. Or this is what I like from another competitor. And I think that says something about you as a co-founder and as someone running the business to the people wanting to use, or your clients or your customers, because that's so important. To really listen and not be offended and not take it as a negative, but take it as like, okay, how can we make this better then? Yeah,
thank you. That's so sweet that you say that. I mean, when I think about that, it's like I don't have the answers to everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think of it as like being an entrepreneur is like you have to kind of take a strong stand and say, I believe that this would be valuable in the market.
Yeah.
And you have to take a strong stand at that, because you have to sort of like rally all of the like forces and movement to like bring that into being. And then once you're there, you have to like totally detach yourself from it and be like, okay, that's not me out there. That's just this like first version of something that I wanted, that I thought could have resonance. And then how do people engage with that?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't have that point of view as easily, right? So that's like learning over time that the way that you can, like, I think that, genuinely it's like, how do you create value for the people that you're working with? And if you can do that, you will have a good business. But it's a matter of, you have to be, kind of like be open to the feedback that you're getting. And I appreciate from you, you've told us our stuff has sucked from time to time, and you said it in like a really nice way, but you've been like, this isn't working for me, and here's why. And so for some, that's like, sometimes that's more valuable than if you said, I'm going to use, this tool, and like sometimes that's more valuable than like dollars that come into the business. Like honest, genuine feedback that this works or this doesn't work. And I've thought about, if I kind of put this into like back into like a YouTube realm, almost like if someone is taking the time to even complain to you or hate on what you're doing, and I don't think you've hated on what you're doing.
No.
It's like honest feedback though, right? But if someone's taking the time to do that, like they care. And there's something about, I think, one of the hardest things in this day and age is attention. Right? So going back to that, like there's all these platforms, you can put your ideas out in the world, but it also means everybody's doing that. So how and when are you able to grab attention is like one of the most important things, I think, as a creator, as an entrepreneur, that you can be lucky enough to like receive or have something that's getting people's attention. So even if the attention is coming back as this doesn't work or we don't like this, there's nothing personal in that. It just is like that they actually want to help you succeed, and I always got that sense from you, is like you were genuinely saying like, here's what we need, right? And then it's like, okay, how do I do that? How do I?
And I'm like, I don't know. This is just what I need. And that's so amazing. And I know, like, because this is your baby and you've been working at it, you come from a pretty secure background in terms of your previous positions and jobs, and I know nothing is like 100% secure, but what, like, did you just decide, I'm going to quit my job and start this new thing, or was it a slow, gradual change? And what was like some of the fears you had to?
That's such a good question. I think to a certain extent I've always had an appetite for risk. right? So even when I was a little, boy, I probably drove my mom nuts. Like if there was a tree, I was basically in the top of it at like 4 years old. And fortunately, I didn't, fall out from a high height and went in too hard. And then, the first kind of like big career risk that I took was coming out of college. A lot of my friends were going into like investment banking or consulting or like careers that had a lot of security around it and were high paying. And I had this passion for baseball, and I was lucky enough to get drafted by the Dodgers.
Oh my God.
And so, and what that meant, right, that was, I think I got paid $850 a month.
Oh.
And you have no job security, right? Zero. You're moving all around the country. I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's amazing, but it's also like you are grinding.
Yeah.
Like, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch pretty much every day. If you're lucky, someone's catering and bringing in like pasta after a game or something. And I'm sure a lot of that has changed in the minor leagues now. It's been a while, but like that was a high risk thing because not many people make it to the major leagues. I didn't.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot through that experience, and so it was like that was one sense of like getting over fears. And then to start, to leave a corporate job and start a business from scratch is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I kind of leaned back on some of those lessons from the minor leagues where, I got to a point where I said, if I were to go a year without earning a salary from a company, could I do that? And what would that mean? And that was really, really hard for me to like wrap my head around. But I was like, you know what? If it's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like food is food. I don't know. It was like
you wanted it bad enough.
Yeah. It was like, and even like I found frustration in corporate jobs. Right? It's like there's all kinds of politics. Like things move slow. There's a lot of great things, but there's a lot of things that were challenging too. And I almost think of like entrepreneurship as a bit of an art form.
Yeah. So
like I ultimately wanted to express myself that way, and I had to sort of let go of ego around, well, my job is, I'm like vice president at this place or whatever. Like I had to let go of all that, which was hard to do. But once I let go, I actually found all this freedom in like, okay, like I'm not earning a salary, right? I'm not as financially comfortable as I was before, and yet I'm like every day my life kind of feels a little bit better.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, it's true, because I think a lot of people's misconception is that you have to have everything ready.
Totally.
Or that, I don't know, and there really is no security in anything, and you do pay for anything that is safe.
Yeah.
In one way or another. So I think that's amazing, and I had no idea you had that crazy journey before all of this. So back to Magic Links, like, I guess just in case anybody's like curious at this point, Magic Links is an affiliate linking site, which means if I make a video and there's something that I'm going to talk about, I go to Sephora, I link that product. But what Magic Links offers for me is that I can link it through an affiliate link, and how that works is I get paid by purchases made through that link. Can you offer a little insight on like how that is able to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what we think of is we empower creators with tools for authentic social commerce. And so basically what that means is, as a creator, you can link to products that you love. Advertisers aren't telling you what to say or do this or do that, right? It's entirely of your own.
It's because I like the product.
Totally.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't like the product.
Or I don't like, and I've linked those too, because somebody might like it.
Someone might like it for the reasons you don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I do like that because just so people know, first of all, when you start a YouTube channel, you don't make any money. You don't make any money for like a few years. Sometimes even after that, just because everyone thinks that AdSense pays, and it pays a little, but you have to get a ton of views for it to pay, because I think it's like 10 cents for every 1,000 views.
It's like millions of views and you're still
making
maybe earning
like a couple $100.
Yeah.
So nobody's getting rich off the bat. And what really helped me in the beginning was using magic links, because anybody who wanted to see what I was using was able to see it in the description box, which everybody requires me to list anyways, because if I don't, they tell me I forgot. Right. So if I'm going to go in there, write everything out for you, which takes about an hour per video depending on the video, I'm going to link it for you too. Well, if I'm going to link it, I might as well get paid for that time I'm linking it, is what I'm thinking about. And I don't feel bad, because it's not a product that I'm being paid to talk about. It's not a product that I was told I had to talk about. It's just because I talked about it, and you guys require me to put it in the description box. So it's very organic and authentic. So it does give the creator that freedom. But and I was shocked at like all the stores Magic Links has to offer too.
And I think of like it also helps, right? So without a list of products or links, it's hard to, as a fan, if you're watching someone's video, so let's say someone doesn't use Magic Links or doesn't link to their products. If you're watching a video and you see something that you love, how do you find it?
Yeah.
Right? As a fan, that's annoying. Maybe you have to leave the video, Google search it, you have to like remember what that was. And so there's this kind of moment of, that's rad, how do I learn more about it, or how do I get that? That if the links are available to a fan, it just makes for a much better experience for a fan. And then sometimes you'll see too, creators will link to a store, just like directly to a store, and not earn any money. Right? And so that's the same thing, where as a creator, like you're an entrepreneur, and anyone who's on YouTube or any social channel is an entrepreneur as well. Like you're taking your time to create content and put it out in the world. And so if you are sending, if you take an extreme case, like if you talk about some product and all of a sudden you're fans who you have a relationship with over a long time and they trust you, and they go to a store and they buy like tens of thousands of dollars at the store, I think that as a fan, do you want the retailer to make all that money and the person who actually introduced you to that get nothing for any of that? Like, that's not fair.
No. And it doesn't come out of the customer or the viewer's pocket at all.
No, it's the retailer is paying for it. And honestly, a lot of retailers are competing with Amazon too, right? And especially in an online space. So any retailer who's not named Amazon right now is worried, genuinely so, for how they can grow their business. And so if they can incentivize creators like yourself or other creators who are talking about products, have a genuine passion for them, and can send your fans directly to Sephora versus Amazon, that's really valuable for Sephora. So we work, I think there's 1,500 retailers that are live on Magic Links now. And a lot of the work that we do with retailers is educating them on YouTube, educating them on the value that creators like yourself or other people who are publishing videos onto YouTube, like the value that they bring to a retailer, and then negotiating with them to say also, so another challenge, and this is like kind of as the industry has grown up, right? But if you're a creator and you're just getting started out and you want to partner with a particular brand through affiliate links, it might be hard to do that right away.
Because a lot of brands have like a minimum requirement before working with a creator directly.
Right. And if they will work with you, they'll probably pay a low revenue share. Because it's basically, they'll say, okay, well, that's great, your channel has only a few people and there's only a few clicks, so like we're not going to pay you as much as like a superstar, right? And so one of the values that Magic Links brings is, for creators, we because we work now, I think there's over 8,000 creators using Magic Links, which is awesome. Especially we were like 2,000, and I think when you joined we were like 200, which is pretty awesome. But so when we go to creators, when we go to a brand, we can say, here's how many creators use Magic Links. Here's how much like people come from YouTube to your store. If you want to be competitive in this marketplace, you need to actually have a competitive rate. And so retailers pay more, and so a creator basically gets access to premium revenue shares, and retailers get access to this big, growing, kind of explosive market.
And I do like that you guys are also very transparent with the creators on our end. Like, I see how much that I have sold for a store, but it's like a 90-day holding period sometimes, just to make sure there's no returns and things like that. A lot of these affiliate sites or affiliate linking sites for creators won't share that information till it clears. And then it just looks like I'm not making anything for like months because it takes a while for the first clearing. And that is really disheartening. So, and then you stop linking, you know? So, and I think that's the biggest thing is also consistency when you're starting a new avenue of trying to make money or trying to find an authentic way of making money is consistency. Right. Because I've been linking, like, I didn't make anything for the first few months just because I had like, I think I had 2,000 subscribers. And I was making stuff, but it was like 50 cents. Totally. You know what I mean? So, but those videos that I started linking back then are still on my channel and still getting views. So that's also the beauty of having this link that's just kind of up there for
completely. Yeah, we think of it as like you know, there's kind of like a tripod, right, that holds these nice cameras, right? But there's kind of 3 pillars of ways to make a living or like channels of earnings as a creator. So one is like platform earnings. So that would be the AdSense revenue that you get from YouTube. If you're on Instagram, you don't get anything. Right? 2 is sponsorships. So and that can take many forms, right? But it could be a brand that wants to pay you for a particular video, could pay you for a mention. They might want you to come to an event or like a pop-up store. They might want you to send a tweet, but it's some kind of direct engagement as a creator with a brand to do something that most brands want to have some level of control over what's being said there. And then the 3rd tier is the social commerce tier. And that's where Magic Links, we are the leader there, we want to be the leader there, right? And to empower authentic social commerce so that it's another tier where you can be totally truthful to your own voice. Because I see creators are the brand. Right, and I think like if I look at this from like 100,000 foot view, and you watch what's happening, there are very few brands who have followings on social media, and I think that's because people don't care about brands as much as they care about other people. So like your fans are invested in you, Serein, and they're much more interested in seeing what you're doing, right? Or the clothes that you're wearing, or the beauty routines that you're taking part in, right? Or like how your life is kind of unfolding. That's way more interesting than a brand being like, the brand did this, right? Or something, right? And so I see the future of social commerce is really people like you, right? Because when you make a decision about what to buy, it's much more connected if it's like, I've watched Serein's channel for 2 years, I know her, I know her body type. She bought this, skirt. That's gonna look perfect for me, right? That's like, and not only is that product gonna be a great fit, but it's also that connection. There's a different level of that connection than like watching a commercial on television where a brand says this skirt is amazing.
And I think like brands have always known that, which is why they have celebrity endorsements, because we used to be very celebrity cultured. I mean, we still kind of are.
Totally.
But even the celebrities are now starting YouTube channels and these like Instagram accounts and doing sponsored Instagram posts and Snapchats, and because we always want to know more about that person.
Completely.
We'll go see the movie, but we want to know more about who they're dating in their life and like, what they're wearing offset,
I think that's how like People magazine and stuff, that's how they make their living.
I had a Us Weekly like every week, and I would be like, what, like stars just like us, like pumping gas and stuff like that. So it's a very much like, I do think that that's why YouTubers or influencers or content creators are so fascinating to the public, is because we're on a more relatable level, and just, I mean, I also think it's a truer to life. Like there's not all this nowadays there's all this glamour on YouTube, but my product reviews are always filmed with these little HD cameras that we're using now, but there's no skin filters, there's no pretty lighting. You're gonna see how the product looks on me. And
right, yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not going to be this filtered version that you expect to have at home, because I don't ever want someone to take it home and be disappointed.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so right, like an extreme version of that is if you look at a like commercial for McDonald's and you see a Big Mac, you're like, that looks like a great looking hamburger.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't look like a
yeah, it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why the authenticity, right, that comes through from a creator on YouTube or a creator on a social platform, it's very different too than like the experience you'd have with, you know, Nicole Kidman wearing like a Cartier watch, right?
Yeah.
Like that there's this like whole sort of aspirational thing that's amazing. But like if you buy that Cartier watch, I've never had this experience, so I'm kind of making it up, right? But like let's say, like I don't know that like you get to like sort of touch that feeling a little bit, but I think actually as a consumer there's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, because you're not Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like my problem with it. Because I totally buy into that too. Like where I'm like, oh my gosh, my favorite actress is like wearing this perfume, and meanwhile I'm getting a headache from it.
Yes.
So whenever at least for me, that's never what I want to happen because I'm very much a product review channel.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I loved YouTube and why I was so fascinated by these normal girls or women building this amazing community.
Completely.
Of just wearing things like real people wear that.
Yeah. And I mean that's changed. The world is changing fast because of that, and it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So like it used to be like. It used to be that like if you didn't look a certain way after your makeup, like you'd feel self-conscious, I think, more so. And I think that's changing. And I think honestly, I think it's YouTube. I think it's the platforms that allow for that communication. That so it's not like filtered and there's 26 people doing makeup and hair before the cameras even start rolling.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, it takes like 2 hours for me to look good, like in that professional setting. Like I've been on sets, I know like how long it takes.
Well, you look great now, so I don't think.
But it's not like Hollywood appropriate.
Right. Yes.
So I mean, again, I've been on sets where like I'm selling a product and every other frame is them brushing my hair.
Yeah.
So never will a piece of hair be out of place, but that's not real life.
Totally.
And I like that hopefully, I know that there is the negativity part where people are starting to feel self-conscious about not always being put together.
Yeah.
But I hope that there's the other side of it too, which is that we do recognize what human beings look like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think my hope is this is all like especially empowering for women, because it's like you don't have to like, it's not like this binary you are either at the extreme end of completely made up beauty and everything is absolutely perfect, or not and everything's a problem.
Yeah.
And it seems like more of that range is available now, and because of these democratic platforms, because of people like yourself who are like bringing this message out to the world, that more people can feel comfortable all along that range, and can feel beautiful right at every end of that range.
Yeah, and I always say like, do you? If you don't think I wear enough makeup, that's fine. Go watch somebody who wears a lot more. Or if you think I wear too much, then go watch somebody who doesn't. Like there's someone for everybody, which is what's so great. So when you started this journey, I know you probably have to reach out a lot to even be heard. Like,
oh gosh.
Yeah. Now that's probably like my biggest fault as an entrepreneur is like I don't go out and be like, hey, I do this or anything like that. But your whole business is based on the fact that retailers know about you, and also going out and reaching out to influencers and kind of just being like, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
So what is that like to take that step constantly, and how do you deal with it when someone says no?
It's such a good question. Yeah, because I mean what Magic Links is a marketplace, right? And so it's a two-sided marketplace, just like you said, where we have to deliver value for creators and we have to deliver value for retailers, and really we bring those two together. And it doesn't really work like if we if we only focus on creators and there's no retailers, then there's not a whole lot of things you can link to for your fans. And if we only focus on retailers and there's no creators, right? So like you have to have both altogether. And you're so right? It's like that fear of rejection you have to get over. I think, I mean, for me, like athletics and baseball was a really amazing training ground for that. So baseball is like the ultimate sport of rejection. You fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a 300 hitter, and if you do that in the major leagues, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So you have to like really get comfortable with failure, and I think there's also a lot of just like really being in the moment. So in baseball, for example, right, if you strike out, there's something to learn from what happened that caused you to strike out. Maybe the pitcher was really good, maybe you didn't do a good swing, something, right? You can learn from that though. But you're gonna have another at-bat, and as soon as that at-bat comes up, if you're thinking about the strikeout, you're like, you've already failed, essentially. Yeah. Because in your mind, you're already in that place. So you have to like, I learned a lot from like Bruce Lee is a big inspiration in this, of sort of learn from the past and take what you can learn from it, but then like forget everything else and be in the moment and be ready to act. So when we, we're constantly trying to reach out to both creators and brands, and you kind of like, I try to approach every one of those as a learning situation. Yeah. So there's something, it might not work all the time, right? Our value proposition that we articulate to creators, like it's still getting better, you know? And I'm grateful that you agreed to work with us. I don't even know what it was when we first started working together. And
I have to be honest, I didn't even know what it was either. And I was like, sure, because I had like 5 emails a day and half of them were spam. Yeah. So that's why I think like it gets progressively harder as you try to get more creators, because the bigger the creator, the more stuff they have to filter through, and sometimes a lot of times to my own fault, like I will just say no because I don't have the understanding or the time, and then later I'll meet them and be like, why did I say no to you? Like, you know, and it's just because I didn't have time, or I just didn't get it quickly enough. And to be able to explain yourself and kind of explain what Magic Links has to offer, like you have to get really good at making that very clear, very fast.
Very fast, yeah.
Yeah. And then I love what you say, like how you try to learn from your failures, but then like just you gotta let it go too, because I have such a hard time of letting it go. Yeah. And it does, if you don't let it go, it'll affect everything, like your next conversation.
Completely. Yeah.
And it's so hard to do though, but it's such a great thing for life. Completely.
I mean, for like, so that's a like learned skill. So for anyone thinking like, oh, I can't do that, like you can teach yourself how to do that. And I think it's a learned skill, and it's something I still like practice all the time. Yeah. And like, for me, some things that like really help are, exercise, breathing is really important. So usually if I'm in a place where I'm not communicating well, I'm like, my breaths are really short. Yeah. So I have to like find a time to just like step away from that, and even taking like 1 or 2 really long, slow, deep breaths can like bring me back into like, okay, let's let that go, and almost like visualize yourself letting it go with an out breath. And it's not right. That's like it's like a little tiny tactical thing, but it like that actually you can train yourself to do these sorts of things. Yeah. And I think also like you're never there. Right? So like I'm still like learning new ways to like let go of things, or learning new ways to be more creative in how we reach out, or getting like talking with an advertiser who for whatever reason doesn't want to work with anyone on YouTube, and I'm like so frustrated, like I can't believe it. I'm like the future is here and you're not like it's right? But that means I don't put blame. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's not their fault or my fault necessarily, but there's something I can learn to maybe articulate that clearer, or hit something that they care about that I wasn't able to like find or identify in that conversation, and maybe I can do it the next time I have that opportunity.
Yeah, and it isn't anyone's fault. You just are different.
Yeah. which is fine.
Which, again, I should learn from you because the emotional aspect of me is like, ah.
Yeah. But that's okay too. Like you can be in that, you can have that emotional reaction. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's not like give that up, but it's just like play with it.
Yeah, like not be so angry about something necessarily. So it sounds like you have a lot of discipline and a lot of routine, but also flexibility and creativity. So I know a lot of problems I encounter with people who want to start a channel or who want to be an entrepreneur or ask for my advice. Like, my biggest tip is always consistency. For me personally, as a creator, you have to be consistent. I don't care how often. But as an entrepreneur running a business and starting a business, what are some of the disciplines that you think is incredibly necessary?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I guess a couple things. When I first like became an entrepreneur and left a corporate environment and into a company that I started myself. Mm-hmm. Originally I thought like, okay, I need to be working like 14 hours a day. And that worked for a little bit, but it also, I was getting burnt out from that. And so what I've learned over time is that almost what needs to come first is my physical health and my mental well-being. And there are things that I can do from a consistency standpoint to make sure that I have a ton of energy every day to bring to what I'm doing. And so for me, that is a lot of exercise. And like, it's also, I've changed the way I've exercised, right? So when I was younger, I used to think of exercise as like going to the gym. Mm-hmm. And now, like, I love surfing, totally passionate about surfing. And I try to do that, like, basically whenever there are waves and there's time, that's what I want to be doing. And I make time in my schedule for it. So a lot of times I'm up at like 5:30 in the morning, in the water at 6 a.m. for like sunrise, and then home by 8 and ready to like get on with my day.
Wow. I'm such a night owl, so I'm the total opposite.
Yeah, night surfing for you, maybe.
Yeah, or not. I've tried surfing. It's not fun.
Stand-up paddleboarding, that's a good
yeah, I actually really want to try stand-up paddleboarding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried to learn how to surf with a longboard, and I'm like, this board is just too big. That's what, so exercise, discipline, just making sure it works for you. But that's so key, because I think I have the same problem like you had in the beginning, which is it's my business. And to this day, like, I can't just sit down and watch an episode of something to like stop. I'm still on my phone. And I'm like, but it's not really work, but anything on my phone is work at this point in my life.
Right, yeah.
So I think that's so important to hear from someone who is growing a business successfully, that you still take that time to like fill your soul and
completely,
you know.
Yeah, and I think that what I've noticed is it took a lot of little small steps for me to sort of get there. So it started out where I was like, wow, I'm feeling really, kind of like drained.
Yeah.
I'm gonna exercise like twice a week. And then like, wow, I feel a little bit better on the days that I exercise versus ones that I don't. Let me try that a little bit more, right? So it's like this constant movement that's still, if I like travel for work for a few days, that I can get off schedule too really quick, and I have to like get back. Another thing that I found, and I wonder if you have found this as well, is like I'll have these times where like I can't get anything done. I don't know why, but I'm just kind of like I'm not feeling it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll have these other times where I can do like 8 hours of work in like 1 hour. And it's like this, I'm like exaggerating a little bit, right? But like I'll have these times where I'm totally flowing and like creativity is happening and like I'm getting all these emails done and I'm just like executing on everything. And then other times where I'm not. So another thing that has been helpful for me is kind of honoring either one of those places. So if I'm in total flow, and I've had this many times where like I'm like absolutely killing it, and I have some like work, like networking event at night, I'll like just miss it. And I used to like feel this obligation that I need to go do that, and now I'm like, what's the most important thing? It's like I'm getting like a lot of really great work done for the company that needs to happen. That's more important than this other thing, so I'm okay doing that, and like I'm okay with myself being like, maybe someone will feel let down because I didn't go to that, but that's okay. And then also like okay, crap, I'm not like I'm trying to do something and it's not really going, maybe that's the time I need to actually step away from it all and go for a walk, or call a friend, right? Call my sister, or do something else that honors that I'm not being effective with my time in the way that I want to at that time. So use it in some other way so that when I am ready, I'm like have sort of full energy to come back to it. Which I think gets back to like, I think that is consistent with like consistency, right? But also like what, for me, those two activities are probably the things that I do that help me be the most consistent, so that every day when I'm doing all the things that it takes to run a startup, right? And it's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's and like, especially when you love what you do, it's almost harder to stop.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no, I mean, that's it, you know, I think also as you break out, like there's no breaks, which is like a beautiful thing and a challenging thing.
Yeah, there's no breaks. Well, so I started YouTube, and once it started like picking up and stuff, and I switched it to being full time and all my focus, I gained about 20 pounds. And I stopped eating 3 meals a day. So it would be like, I would just eat whenever I would like binge eat at night, because I was like, I didn't have breakfast or lunch or any snacks.
Yeah.
And I started feeling gross.
Yes.
I started feeling gross, but I felt guilty anytime I would take the 2 hours out of my day to do what I need to do to maintain my health. And I think the biggest stepping point was like, I went to my doctor's 2 years ago, and he told me how much weight I had gained. And he was just like, I mean, you were really thin before, so it's okay, but at the same time, this can't be a continued path that you're on.
Yeah.
Because that much weight gain in like 1 year.
Right.
And it was because I went from being obsessive, like of working out all the time, and eating no processed foods, to suddenly sitting on my butt, filming, editing, and being on the computer all day and forgetting to eat, and then eating one meal.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, so you're on camera a lot, right?
Like and if you go, it's so depressing, because I was actually going through my videos, and if you see the videos when I first started, I'm teeny tiny, and then you slowly start to see me kind of like get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then now I'm kind of just like normal, but I definitely need to put more effort, because I went to a cardio bar class, which is like an easy class for me. I used to go all the time, and I had such a hard time last night keeping up in class.
Really?
To the point where I was like, wow, I'm already red in the face and sweaty, and it's been 5 minutes. Like, what is wrong with me right now? Like, it's depressing, and health-wise, it's not good. Forget about how I look. It's just like, I don't want to be out of breath walking up the hill. So I think that's really important, to not feel guilty for taking time for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's a couple like big reasons behind that, right? I think for you being on camera, people can feel the energy that you're bringing into your videos, and so if your health is off a little bit, right, or you're like kind of like going so hard that you're not eating all day and then eating at night, like I've done that too, right? So I'm totally I'm like in that space with you, but I also know like you don't, your energy throughout the day then like it's not at a constant like high sort of vibrational place. It's like you're kind of crashing and burning as the day goes,
and people
that
notice.
comes through. Right?
Someone was like, "You look sick." And thanks, thank you so much. No, and it was because
they're trying to help you.
And people worry actually. Like somebody was like, "Your eyes look yellow." I'm like, actually, that was the lighting. That was I'm fine. I just had my checkup. But the thing is, it's like, it's so noticeable. Like when I'm editing myself, I'm like, oh, that was the day I really didn't want to film, but I felt like I had to get this done in time. So it is important, and you know, I do need to be better about that. But I have such a guilt thing. Like if I'm not working, I feel guilty.
And I think, I mean, that's like, you know, like beauty comes from within. Is really, and like it's really an energetic thing where you're in a place where you love yourself, and you're taking care. Part of loving yourself is taking care of yourself. You know, kind of physically, mentally, emotionally, like all those different ways. And then that stands out for you. I think a lot of it is on camera. and how your videos come together and how you engage with your fans on camera. And for me, that might be, like 3 conversations with 3 different advertisers on a day, or how do we help, onboard a couple new YouTube creators, or how do we like mobilize the team, or like we got, Serein said, hey, this product isn't working so well. How do we like make our technology work better based on the feedback we're getting, right? Yeah. So the way that you bring that sort of energy into play is it's like it has sort of like different mediums where it comes in, where it like, it may be through YouTube, it may be through the post you put on Instagram, right? It may be through the conversation that you have with an advertiser or a new partner, you want to set up a sponsorship deal, whatever that is. But having like yourself being in a good place where your energy is like high and you're feeling good about yourself means that you can manifest more things. Yeah, and that's so true, because it's also easier for me to deal with comments, it's easier for me to deal with everything if I'm in a better place mentally and physically. So when you decided to go out on your own and just create this thing for content creators that, most people don't even know what a content creator is, and most people don't know what a YouTuber is. Even though it's this big culture, I feel like it's still a very new thing. Like my accountant doesn't know what to put me under. So every year she's like, what did we do last year? I think we'll just do this. Right. So, and the best was jury duty when I had to explain to them what I did for a living. I'm like, yeah, she's dismissed. So that's great. Yeah, because you might go vlog about that. I'm like, my whole entire life is documented on social media. Like I can't. Right. I don't know. And they're like, what are the YouTubes? I'm not sure. Yes, they're like, what? Counsel? Dismiss? But when you tell people what you do, or when you were telling people that you're going to venture off and do this, was it a very supportive community? Was there a mixture? And how do you deal with that? Because I know, when I said I was going to be a YouTuber, that was an interesting conversation with people. No, that's such an interesting question, right? Because there's some level, I think, of your identity that gets attached to what you do. Yeah. And I try to not have that, right? Like I try to have what I do, and when I'm comfortable with who I am, regardless of like company succeeds or fails, right? Or like doing, working in a corporate job or working in a startup, right? So that's one thing that I try to do. And then I think, it's just interesting, right, to see how like conversations evolve. So I'll give you a flavor of that. When we were first pitching the idea of Magic Links to investors, generally you're sort of in a room with mostly white men who are over 55 years old, right? Yeah. and so how to explain this phenomenon of YouTube to that audience is a very, very difficult, tricky thing. And probably just like a lot of our conversation, right? You fail a lot. You're like, you try one thing and you just see like a blank stare on the other side, and you're like, that didn't work at all. let me like play and try something different. And what's happening now, and I've noticed this really in the last like couple months now, so a year and a half ago, those conversations sort of ended in like is YouTube really a thing? We don't know. Like nobody uses that. I don't use it, right? And that's usually, it's so interesting, right? Because like in the investor sphere, it's like you're looking for what's gonna like companies that are gonna like shape the future. Yeah. And then so many people fall back into what their own experience is, and if their own experience doesn't relate to that, they're like, I'm not really sure about what that is. Yeah. But now those conversations are, people in that room will come up to me and they'll go, my daughter or my granddaughter, the only thing she does is watch people play with Thomas the Train on the Thomas the Train channel on YouTube. Yeah. That's all she does, and she watches those videos over and over and over again. Like, what's happening there? Yeah. And it's so like gratifying, right? To kind of to know, like to sort of experience that whole trajectory of, at first when people are looking at you and like, I don't know what that is, like the accounting software doesn't have the right you know, right? Like there's not a label for what you do.
Yeah.
To then people like really waking up to it. And I think, I mean, honestly, I think one of the things, if you're being an entrepreneur and you're out kind of in the world doing that, if you're not getting that feedback, like if people aren't looking at you like, what's that? You're kind of crazy.
Like you're crazy.
Like you're probably not doing anything important.
Oh, wow. That's a real, wow. No, but
meaning because like you want to be in front of it, right? You want to like part of establishing yourself, right, or creating something new is like just by like the notion of even that happening is that
it should be different.
It should be different. Yeah. So right, like if you, for example, if you said to your friends and family, I'm starting the Serein Woo show on ABC, everyone would be like, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a dying art form.
Yeah, it's a dying art form.
Yeah.
But saying I'm starting Dress Yourself Happy on YouTube, now there's all these questions, people aren't really sure, but you're also in front of a whole new like sea change. Yeah. So I think you don't want to necessarily be like foolish about that, and you can definitely, that's possible, right? Like,
yes.
You don't want to go play on your own little like rock that no one else is doing.
And never gonna happen.
Yeah. But if you can have that sort of sense of like there's something happening there, and for me, I think the way that I've always tried to articulate that to people is, I just learned this stat, right? So PewDiePie is the largest YouTuber.
Yeah.
6 times. So compare PewDiePie to Sunday Night Football, NFL Sunday Night Football. 6 times as many people watch PewDiePie every week as Sunday Night Football. 6 times.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. It's not even, like, he's lapping them 6 times.
Every week.
Yeah, and everyone right now knows about Sunday Night Football, and who knows how much, right? It's worth billions of dollars a year in advertising rights. It costs probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to produce, and, like, all the, like, people and games and whatever that's all around it.
Yeah.
And yet you have, like, someone on YouTube who has a direct connection with 6 times as many people every single week. It's astonishing.
Insane.
People still don't understand it.
No, and they don't, and it's a constant battle, like, to this day, even though finally my family's on board. Like, well, here's the thing, my mom has always been very, very supportive, but you know that it's, like, weird when I said, I'm quitting acting to do YouTube full-time, and she's like, are you sure? I'm like, acting was not a sustainable job. You saw how often I, like, made money versus not.
Right.
The only difference is, like, you get a bigger chunk at once.
Right.
And I was like, Mom, like, really?
Yeah.
And she was just like, well, this YouTube thing, I don't get it. I just don't get it. But bless her heart, she downloaded the YouTube app on her iPad. And she would watch my videos. And she found out that watching my videos helped me. So, and liking it helped. So she would go and turn on my video, my channel, and just run it.
That's great.
Yeah, but then I was really afraid to tell people in my personal life. Like, I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell any of my friends. They already thought I was the crazy one who moved to LA to be an actor, like, after high school.
Yeah.
So they always thought I was kooky and weird, and for them to, like, know I was doing this thing, I was a little embarrassed about telling them. But somehow or another, someone found it, and they started asking me, like, oh, does the beauty blender really work? Like, I was watching your video and doing this, and I was like, okay, the fact that everybody is watching it, though, means I'm on the right path. Right. Because even though they have no idea what this is, they're watching it and buying it. And these are people in my life that, so I think there is something to be said that, like, if people don't question you or don't think you're doing something weird, then you might not be doing something right. Right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. I hope you had fun too. But this podcast was taped or filmed, so it will be on the YouTube channel. Usually the videos are going up a week after for you guys who want to watch. It will be up on my main channel under the Behind the Beauty podcast playlist. We're about a week behind though for that, and we will do a little giveaway, so check the video description bar and also show notes. I will have the giveaway info and link in the show notes, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, rate us, like the little stars and stuff.
2 thumbs up.
5 stars.
5 stars.
Yes,
that
we're going to
gives
do
us
5
stars.
stars. Yeah, so rate us. It really helps us pop up on the iTunes podcast thing. And then if you have the chance or the time, reviews are great, written reviews, and negative or positive, like, I'll take it. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching if you're watching. And thank you so much, Brian, for being a guest.
Thank you, Serein.